So today, what I'm going to do is, or attempt to do, is make actually cut a hole in my nice perfectly wall, um, and then make a shelf in it, and then that swings out, kind of a hidden shelf, I guess, and then hide my guns back there, or jewelry or whatever. I don't really have a lot of jewelry, but you can do hide whatever your jewelry or your money or whatever in it. So what I recommend is um, find a spot, preferably on the inside wall because it won't be insulated. If you use an outside wall, it'll be insulated, and then it's just a mess, and it won't be insulated. So this is the spot where I'm going to cut a hole into it. So this is on the inside wall. It won't have insulation. But before you do any cutting out, what I recommend is know where your stud is. What I use is I'll show you. So I recommend this stud finder is, like I said, it'll find the electrical cables in it, or charge, or whatever you want to call it. So for example, up here, there won't be any electrical current or cables. See, now I just found a stud, and so that's fine, there's no stud. But now if I move it down by the outlet, you'll see how I found the stud, and then you see that little lightning sign there. That means there's a power line behind there. So if you were to cut a hole here or whatever, you would know that there's a cable line or electrical cable back there that's live, and you probably would want to be careful or not cut there at all. That's why this one's kind of handy to have, to cut a hole in your wall, because if there is a cable, a power line, you got to be careful. So I just finished cutting the hole. There's some lines, but this is just cable lines, and it wasn't in the way, so I didn't cut anything into it. And actually, as you can see here, the wall, there's no insulation. And this is an outside wall. That's what the insulation would look like. So actually, this is behind the stove of the living room. This is my bedroom. So actually, I'm going to have a lot of space in here to build a bookshelf. But I'm only going to do the bookshelf up to about here, which is 8 inches. 8 inches by 17 and a half. So the weird is, I think most houses are built, the studs are 16 and a half between the two studs. This one is like 17 inches. So I don't know, whatever. I guess that's how they do it in Texas here. And then I cut up to 35 inches because that's how big I want my my bookshelf. So 35 up and down. Across is 17 inches, and the depth is going to be 8 inches back. So I cut my two top and bottom right there. So that's my top and bottom. And I don't have any like special tools that everyone else has. All I have is a circular saw. I don't have a jigsaw. I don't have a table saw. I don't have a miter. I don't have all these different saws that you see people on YouTube having. It's like if I had all those, I can build a house too. But if all I'm gonna use is a circular saw, so if I can do it, anyone else can do it. And I'm not a carpenter, by the way. By no means am I a carpenter or anything like that. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. And also, how you're gonna determine your depth of your shelf or whatever you want to build. It can't, so diagonally from here to here has to be less than your length right here. So if this is 17, you can't have a shelf diagonally 17 inches. It has to be less than that for it to, so once it sits in here, you have to, so it's going to open like this. So it has to be 17 inches, less than 17 inches diagonally. And if you did, so this is just barely. I measured out, so this is going to be barely, just barely to swing and not hit. See, as you can see the corner there, it will have swing and not, or it'll swing out and not hit that side. So let's say if I had the shelf longer, I would have to move this back further back here. So that way it can swing out like that. And what I recommend you do is use a cardboard and try it out. Use it because it's cardboard's easy. That way you can use it as a template to make sure how deep you want the shelf and if your diagonal swing is correct. And these are the top and bottom of the shelf. And again, I don't have a circular saw. And what I did was, obviously you measure what you need to cut. And then what I did would also make it straight. I used like a guide. I clamped my guide down, and so that way this will slide on my ruler there and keep it straight. So whatever. So let's say this was your measurement right here. Instead of just trying to cut with the line, I made a guide and I clamped it down on both sides, so that way this will be my guide, and I don't have to worry about the line. I mean, you still make a line, but that way you ensure that the line's still straight with your guide. You can try. You could use just the line too, but a lot of times you might move a little bit, and then you're off by a little bit. And again, you know what? You don't have to have it perfect. You see people, like I said, you don't have a table saw, you don't have a jigsaw, you don't have miter box, you don't have all these fancy tools that people use on the internet. All I have is this, and if it's not perfectly square, so what? No one's gonna notice as long as it fits and it looks right. No one's gonna come up with a measurement. Say, oh, let's measure from corner to corner here to see if it's square or not. Well, no one's gonna do that. If it's off a little bit, no one's gonna notice. So now I'm gonna cut the side. So I measure what I needed, like 35.4 inches, the length and the width with the lines, and then I use my ruler there as a guide, so that way my circular saw just sits on that guide there, and I just push it straight up without, I do have a laser on here too, but I swear I tried using it once and it doesn't seem to be straight. I don't know. So the guide's gonna be a lot better. All right, so I finished the cabinet shelf, whatever you want to call it, that is going to go into there. So the front has shelves, and the back also does not have shelves. So what I'm going to do is put the shelf into the hole, so that way it'll pivot out. So I'll put hinges on this side here, and when I swing it out, like that, I'll have access on the back here. What I'm going to put back here is actually like my rifle and handguns and stuff on here. And before I forget, earlier when I said that measurement, or the length of the hole is 17 inches, and like I told you, the point from this point to that point, this diagonal can't be more than 17 inches. It has to be less, so that way it will swing out without hitting the edge. And I did measure it correctly from here to here. I measured 17 inches, but I forgot to take account the thickness of the edge. So don't forget that. So the total length should be 17 inches, right? Not just your shelf part. The edges has to be also. And also, since I didn't have any those Craig joints or whatever you want to call it, you screw the hole at 45 degrees, and then it'll screw into the edges on all these. Well, I didn't have it. Also, all I did was just put screws into the edges, and that looks fine to me. And if you want, it's not going to be visible, but if it is visible, what you can do is you can countersink like this one here. I countersinked it. I'll countersink all of them, and you put wood putty in, and then sand it and paint. No one seems to know where the screws would be. And also, like I told you, I was using circular saw. It's not ideal for cutting. Like I said, I don't have these fancy tools like a table saw, a rip saw, and all that other saws you want to call it. All I have is a table saw. So there are some imperfections. You see, like there's gaps here, but no big deal. All you gotta do is put wood putty in and fill it in and sand it. And you can see here, there are some gaps here, gaps here. Like I said, putty's good enough. Put that in, you never know. Paint over. Same thing here. Other than that, I mean, the circus saw is fine with me. I didn't have any fancy tools. So next step is I'm waiting for the hinges to come in. It's hidden hinges that I'll screw into here. I might need another a thicker piece of wood. If I do, I'll actually put it right in here instead of here because I already measured the gap of this to the hole. So I'm completing with my shelf. Here's the front side, and here's the back side of it. And again, like I said, this is where I'm going to put the back side is going to have my guns, like my AR on the long up and down, and then a handgun I'll put in the bottom. I did put in some hidden hidden hinges. These are here. They're made by SOSS sauce. I don't know how you pronounce it. One thing you want to note is when you're putting hardware, make sure the thickness of the whatever wood you're using is thick enough to support that. So originally I had these. These are I think a 1/4 inch, and to put this hardware in, you can see put this hardware in. It's actually a lot longer. There, it's a lot longer than this 1/4 inch. So then I actually had to put another piece of wood in here, so that way I can cut this out and put the hinge on the inside. So obviously this goes on the one side goes into your bookshelf and the other one goes into your stud or something. But it's actually, with these hinges, it's kind of hard to line this hinge side into the stud. So what I did was I just basically like cut off another piece, and I fit it in right to here, and then I put it up to the stud, and then I mark this spot, and then I screw this piece of wood into the stud. That way it will line up perfectly. Because with this, it was kind of hard, because this is designed for like a door, you know, so the door is like this, so it's easy to line up inside the stud. This was a little harder to line up because the length is so long. So what I mean is, for example, let me get some 2x4s here. So for example, let's say this was your stud you're going to screw in, and let's say pretend this is the shelf or whatever. So the hinge would go into here, so it's easy to line it up and cut out the spots for the hinge. But since it's so long, it was kind of hard to line up. So, you know, ideally you put the hinge in one side into the shelf, and then into the 2x4, and then easily open and close. This one was a little harder, like I said. The length was just a lot longer. It was hard to line up. So this is my finished shelf, or hidden shelf, or whatever you want to call it. Again, it was much easier to put this piece of wood onto here, and then I traced it, and then I cut the hole, and then I put the hinge into it. And then same thing for the top. And then what I did was I put the piece of wood onto the hinge on here, and then I placed it on here, and then I placed it exactly where I want it, and I traced the spot right there, and on top where I wanted it, and then I basically took it off and screwed the piece of wood into the stud. It was a lot easier to do that versus not having this piece of wood and then having this shelf sit however you wanted, and then lining up this hinge with the stud. It was just tougher to do it. I don't know why, but it was because I didn't have a lot of room to work and trace where it was or measure, So it was just easier this way, but you can do whatever. And then how this is gonna lock is I bought this RF reader lock. So basically it'll go something like this. I'm not even sure this part is the lock and this part is the release. I'll probably have it something like this in there. And then the card to open it, you just swipe it over here. See what? You just swipe it like that, and it will release the lock. Yeah, it is thick enough to read through that that wood, 1/4 inch. I got this off of Amazon, so there's tons of different kinds of that. So to open this, all you gotta do is, pull it, and then it reveals my guns. Just two, nothing fancy. And I have an AR that I built with the uppers is like a BCM and a low. I don't know what the lowers are, but anyways. And then I have my 45. And how this is held up is I bought a gun or an AR holder right there that goes into where the magazine would go. So they're screwed in there. And then how the handgun is held in there is by actually a magnet. That magnet right there. That magnet is rubber, so it won't scratch your gun or anything. And that there was designed to hold guns. I got that on Amazon also. And for right now, I just use another magnet right there. This is what it looks like to hold my clip for this 45. What eventually I'll do is find some good clip holder, magazine holders, whatever. I'll put it like probably somewhere up here maybe, or maybe on the sides here. I'm not even sure. And then back here is still plenty of room, so I might actually build like a shelf so I can put more stuff in here, like documents and stuff, like important documents, passports, things like that. Yeah, you don't want someone breaking your house and steal and stuff back there. And so close it. And what I'll do is I'll put trims on the four sides probably. I mean, probably. Well, I'm debating to put trims on the four sides so that way you won't know this is actually open, right? You'll think it's a built-in shelf. Or another thought is, actually my wife thought of this, is put a picture in front of it. And I might actually do that. So what I'll do is I'll put tracks on the bottom and top, like cabinet tracks, and then a picture frame, so that way it'll slide and cover that up, and you won't be able to know that's back there, because I've seen some tactical walls. That's how you can buy it. It's like $600. That's what they do. They put a mirror in front of a cabinet and it slides. So I actually might do that. All right, so now I finished painting everything. I painted the edges there, but before I painted, of course, I puttied or put plaster on there so that way you didn't see those ugly edges that earlier. So basically I used the corner tapes and then I put mud on there so that way now it's now it's smooth. It doesn't have those like I said ugly edges, and I painted the colors to match the wall. So it just looks a little more professional, right? Painted the 2x4s I put in there in between the studs. Now what I'm gonna do is, originally, like I said, I was gonna just keep it like that and then put trims on the edges, so that way you wouldn't know it has hinges and it would open, so it would just look like built-in shelf. But now or my wife actually had a better idea, is just to leave this like this and then put a picture in front of it and then slide it, so that way you'll have other stuff. You can put more valuable stuff on up in here. So what I did is I found a painting that will fit that, but the painting I don't like it, obviously. So I'm actually going to paint over it, do some abstract painting. I've never done it before, but that's what I'm going to do. So I just bought a cheap painting. It was like under $20. I went to like I think it was Ross. Go like Ross or like TJ Maxx, Marshall, things like that, where you find paintings for cheap. And then also I bought some, these are cabinet tracks, but make sure you get the extended one, so that way it'll extend the full range. So what I'm going to do is, obviously, it'll go on here, and then painting will go on here, so that way you can slide it. So one on the bottom and one on top. Again, make sure it's the full extent. So see how it fully extends there like that? Not those cheap that doesn't fully extend. That will sit like partly only open part there. That way, if you bought those cheap ones, it won't, your picture frame won't slide all the way over, or your mirror or whatever you want to put in front of your hidden shelf or whatever maybe. So I finished my painting. As you seen before, it was like roses or flower or whatever. So I painted over it. Actually, it looks pretty good for first time painting in my life of on a portrait, I guess. Never painted. Looks pretty good. Maybe I'll be a painter from now on. So anyways, so this part I put a 2x4 this way, and up there 2x4 across that way. So that way I can put the track or screw the track on, and also the painting. I also reinforced it. I put whatever size wood that is, and that piece of wood there, so that lines up with where that 2x4 is and that 2x4 is. So this is where I will screw in the track. So I'll screw the track into there, because you can't just screw it on these cheap piece of fake whatever they have on the paintings. So you gotta put some strong wood. That way it goes on that. Actually, it'll actually go like this. It'll go like this. This will go on, the small part will go on that, and then this big part will go on the wall. So it'll go like this. Go like this. This part will screw in there, and then this part will screw onto the painting. So that way I can, slide it in and out. All right, so here is the finished product. There's my picture I painted. Again, I'm kind of proud of myself. So you wouldn't know that there's a hidden cabinet back there. So now I just slide it. There you go. Like I said, I put on these tracks. These are drawer tracks, and like I said, make sure you get the expandable one. It's fully extension, so it goes all the way out. So that way you can slide your picture all the way out. If you don't get the full extend, it'll probably just open up to here, and then you're out of luck. Again, there's a cabinet in here. I'll do something, whatever I want with it. Put whatever. Again, and the backside is my AR and my 1911. And then back here, I'll probably make like a table or something later on so then I can put more stuff on here. More valuable stuff. I don't have much valuable stuff, but just in case I do. Again, I didn't have any special tools. All I had was a circular saw and a regular handsaw to make this cabinet. Didn't have a table saw, didn't have a miter saw, didn't have like I said, any other saws that there are. Simple circular saw, and everybody has at home. You can make make it yourself. Like I said, there were some imperfections back here, and all I did was fill it with wood putty, paint it over. So pretty good. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put that electronic lock on it or not. I probably won't. There's no point. Yeah. All right. Thanks.